everyone. Good morning and good afternoon to our distinguished guests, members, speakers, committee, and all the participants. Welcome to Asia Pacific Digital Sexuality Education or DSE Activities 2022. We are so happy to be welcoming you to this agenda, one of the community activities in Asia Pacific, to be done on digital sexuality education and continuing virtually to maximizing digitalization. So, how is everyone's feeling today? Please share your feelings by picking the best emoticon or emoji on our chat box here. Pick the smiley face if you feel happy and excited, or surprise face if you feel surprised, or maybe hungry face because you feel hungry because there are still lunchtime in some region in Asia Pacific. Wow, so many expressions coming in. But not to be worried because our main event today will be a relaxed, exciting, and fun because we will have not only main session webinar, but we will have quiz with prizes at the end of the session as well. So before we start our event today, I would like to remind all the participants to change their name with the format name, underline organization, underline country, so other participants know which country you are from or which organization you are representing. Also here in our event, we provide sign language interpreter. If those who need international sign interpreter, please put IS behind the country name, like name, underline organization, underline country, underline IS. So our committee could be aware of the needs of all the participants here. So yeah, everyone, the activity is supported by UNFPA Asia Pacific, UNFPA Indonesia, Cyclus Indonesia, as well as the Asia Pacific Digital Sexuality Education Community member.
Thank you very much, Olivia. Hello, everyone. Good morning and good evening. Warmly welcome to this webinar, Asia-Pacific Digital Sexuality Education, Community Capacity Building, Sexuality and Safeguarding Uses for Digital Sexuality Education, organized by UNFP Asia-Pacific, UNFP Indonesia, and Seekers Indonesia. As you know, youth is best understood as a period of transitions from the dependence of childhood to adulthood. Good morning and good evening. Warmly welcome to this webinar, Asia-Pacific Digital Sexuality Education, Community Capacity Building, Sexuality and Safeguarding Uses for. I think it's mute. That's why as a category youth as more. Young people are frequently undervalued and face adverse circumstances as a result of their vulnerability and lack of control over their participation in society. So, the use of technology comes naturally to youth who grow up surrounded by wireless technology and interactive devices. Not like past decades, the world children grow up in today is very different from the world that their parents grew up in. So girls and boys are going to online search for information about health and sexuality. Young people have always been the forefront arising awareness about SRH amidst the rapid development of digital technology. So that young people use digital media to create, share, and access sexual rights and reproductive health information to build community and access SRH support to explore sexual norms and identify and from the explore intimate relationship. So apart from that, comprehensive sexuality education remains the cornerstones for the improving the sexual and reproductive health of young people. Digital sexuality education could be the answer to the rapid development of the digital world and the current youth trend. Not only is digital sexuality education about increasing young people's digital literacy and awareness, but it also brings together the interest of many parties as a preventive measures and comprehensive education for the public. Digitalized sexual education helps young people become aware of their body rights and the boundaries and must be respected. That's we need. The high number of sexual violence cases in digital platform also impacts the importance of continue to disseminate digital sexual education to the public, particularly young people and other minority groups who lacks in access. So in practice, due to that lack of understanding in this area, awareness of the importance of digital sexuality and digital security and safeguarding uses for digital sexual education is frequently ignored. To address these traits, security and safeguarding knowledge play an important role in creating safe space to protect young people and their digital bodies from digital violences. To respond to the identified needs, a community call is planned to gather members of the community, facilitate knowledge sharing, and explore their best practice or experience on the topic of security and safeguarding uses for digital sexuality education. In this webinar seeks answer to these questions and explore the best practice and lesson learned on security and safeguarding uses for the digital sexuality education for curious young people. So, ladies and gentlemen, before we get started, I would like to go over a few items so you know how to participate in today's event. Now that you are joined to our webinar, we will notice that you are on mute. You will have the opportunity to submit text question to the today's presenters by typing a question into the chat box. And you may send your question at any time during the main session. We will collect these and address them at the end of the main session. So now I would like to brief today's webinar. We have main session, breakout room session, and plenary session. Main session will be delivered by our speakers. Then as a second part of our session, breakout room session, we will divide you into 3 groups and each group has 1 facilitator. Another one is a plenary session. One speaker from each group gets a chance to deliver what they got in the discussion. We admire your active participation during the session. And now I'm going to introduce our speakers. First, Mr. Ram Dulip Randobake, Coordinator, YPS Sri Lanka and core member of YPS Asia Pacific Center. He awarded as a Commonwealth Youth Council candidate 2021, represent Mr. Gay World to Sri Lanka 2021, awarded Asia Motivation Speaker of the Year 2021, Focal Point YPS Sri Lanka and founder of a Hope Foundation, Our second speaker is Ellen Kuzuma, Head of Digital and Risk Subdivision, SafeNet Indonesia. Her work focuses on the policy advocacy of online gender-based violence in Indonesia. I think it's better time for the ice break. As I break activities, you can just click the link and share your ideas. What you have to do is you can share your ideas for the young people, look for online, especially digital SRH. I think then technical problems are already solved. You can already go through with the numbered activities. Okay. We need more answers. Good. Keep going. This is a better chance for you all to share your ideas. Good. You can use various stickies, various colors, various pictures if you are not more to type. Okay. I think we already have 3 questions. It's better to move to the second question as well. The second question, factors contribute to the young person risk of harm online. Just write, post. Let's come on your mind. Safety guidance, lack of online safeguarding policies. Yeah, good. Fake news. Okay, good to go. Privacy policies. I think, thank you everyone. So I think better to go for our main sessions. We are running out of time bit. So as a basic human right for a person to live in a safe environment, safeguarding is an act of people and enabling them to be safe from harm, abuse, and exploitations. Every digital sexual education initiative holds responsibility for ensuring that their operations and services are doing no harm to their predominantly young users and protecting them from the risk associated with using digital platforms. Every person should live without harm, no matter the age, gender, ethnicity, religion. This is vital that very vulnerable child and adults is kept safe. Without further ado, I would like to invite Mr. Ram Duli, Coordinator, Whitefish Sri Lanka and co-member of Whitefish Asia Pacific to discuss more about application of safeguarding digital rights and the appropriate well-being principles to digital platforms. Mr. Ram Duli, over to you.
Hello everyone. So you all can hear me, right?
Yes, Ram, we can hear you.
All right. So hi, I'm Ram here from Sri Lanka. So I'm representing YP Asia Pacific and also YP Sri Lanka. So I don't have presentations to show. So basically, I will talk to you guys today about this topic. Um, So basically, actually, this is one of my favorite topic, which I always like to talk, but I never had the opportunity to learn this about the sex education or sexuality education when I was in school. Basically, when I was in school, we just thought that, all right, I think I remember when, I was in eighth grade when we had this health subject. Uh, so we was told that okay, there is a penis and okay, there is a vagina, and they get both together and they make kids. So that's the only thing we were told when we were in school. But now we know that actually there are more ways to make kids. As an example, like surrogacy. So since I'm gay, so I always have to go for a surrogacy process. And if we didn't have this opportunity to learn about sexuality education or sex education, uh, I think we will not learn about these things for decades. And I remember like last year when it was the Sexual Health Day, they came up with a theme of turn it on. So turn it on in the sense that so they wanted us to turn the internet on and explore about the sexual education and sex education. So and I will move to when it comes to sexual health. So let's talk about the sexual health. The sexual health, the people are giving different kind of definitions. The different organizations give different definitions for sexual health. But I have lined up few like more than one definitions for sexual health. So according to me, the sexual health is about information and choices and access for information, and also the sexual health care. We always have to take care of our health, and the sexual health is about being free from sexism and homophobia and transphobia and racism and also racism, and being free from abuse and violence, also sexual health. And sexual health is our sexual rights and our sexual well-being, that can be physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, and also sexual relationships and behaviors, pleasure, and sexual liberation. So these are the things when it comes to what I find when it's defining the sexual health and rights. Right. So, if we talk about the digital world, so since we are talking about the digital sexuality education and digital sex education, when it comes to digital world, there are 4.1 billion people are using the internet, and that is 54% from the population, the world population. And also, if we take like continents, in Europe, the people, 82% of people are using the internet. And in African region, 28% of people are using the internet. And in Asia, 55.1% using the internet, which is quite good. And we talk about the people who are using the internet, but at the same time, the 3.6 billion people are not using the internet. So I think that is one of the concern, and which means that can be because of any situation or any reason. So they don't have access for internet. And sometimes we are privileged to have internet, and there are people who have the privilege to access for internet, and some they don't have. So sometimes the most of the problem are with them, because as I said, I remember when I was in sorry. So I was telling that I have a lot of like the personal experience, which is I had my friend, and she did not know till she was about 30, and she didn't know that there is something called orgasm for women. So when we're talking, because we already had the access for information, I always explored about the sex education on internet. And when we had a conversation, like a friendly talk conversation, then we were talking about these things, and she didn't know that there is something called orgasm for women. So this is very unfortunate when she's almost 30 and she did not know about these things. And this is why we should use the internet, and we should access the internet to learn about the digital sexuality education. So moving forward, I want to talk about the digital sexual behaviors. So digital sexual behaviors, it goes for like, we have a lot of options when we have the digital sexual behaviors. That is, I think most of the participant here are from the young generation. They know about these things, like video sextings and the phone sex and video sex and sending nudes, obviously, and sex toys and Bluetooth controls. Like now, we had a time where that we had like the magazines where they brought up these sexual contents, and then they had the porns, and now it has moved to another level where the people are using like the campsites and the cam shows controlled remotely, where like they can actually use the control the sexual items from the digital platforms. And uh, this is how far we have gone through the digital sexual behaviors. And also the dating apps we have, what do you call, the Tinder, and we have a lot of kind of dating apps where these digital sexual behaviors involves. So, and also let's talk about the digital sex education. The digital sex education is the world where we live in right now, and that is the digital sex education. We can have the access from YouTube videos and Instagram and TikTok. And I know the TikTok is really famous these days. The TikToks, I think the most of the people are in TikToks, and me personally learn a lot of things on TikToks and the Twitter and the internet contents. The internet contents like means when we use, like when we see some contents on social media, and then we call it as like sex ads. And also, when it comes to this digital sex education, you can gain the knowledge mainly for women. And we have the fertility apps and the menstrual tracking apps. So actually, I recently got to know that there are some apps for menstrual trackings and to keep your periods. And when you go for family planning, you have to keep your periods circle. So there are like a lot of things, and I personally went and learned about these things. So since we are in a digital platform, since we are into the information, I actually want to talk about the privacy and data. So when we're using the internet, sometimes we know we don't think about the other side as well. So when we use internet, the some informations are collecting on us through the internet providers. So when you use this internet, and when you talk about when you explore about these kind of things, you have to maybe you have to think about your data and your privacy as well. And also the sensitive information can be fine. As I said, now uh, I had my friend that she didn't know about the orgasm, and now when they get to know that okay, we can access about the education, sex education and sexuality education through internet, so they can find informations which they never heard. And sometimes this information can be sensitive for them. And this problem also there, because I think most of the times it comes because they did not have the opportunity to learn about things, and they never wanted to learn about these things. But this is a thing that we should learn, and we everyone on this world should learn about the sexuality education. So I when I go for conference, I always say that why we are not bringing these topics to the normal school system. So this is one of the basic need and the basic knowledge we should get, like since childhood, since when you are getting, becoming an elder. So these things we have to uh, bring towards these things, right? So so we talk about this thing, and now we have to talk about the good stuff and the bad stuff about the digital sex education and sexual education. So the good stuff, it's super accessible from anywhere. You can use the internet from anywhere. Uh, from if you pay for this internet, and you can access it in anywhere, and you can learn about these things, this sexual education from anywhere. And people make communities with similar identity and experience, which means now let's say when we think about that, okay, we have a problem in our, like let's say in any sexual behavior or anything. So when we talk about people, when we talk with other people about the same issues, so we can make the communities with the same mentality. So as I said now, if we talk about the LGBTQ issues, so we are talking through the internet about these issues with our LGBTQ people, and we make friends. And let's say there are kind of a group like with girls that they don't have much friends, and but they find a person to talk from via the digital platform, that where they can share their information freely, and then they make friends. So I think this is one of the good thing about the digital platforms when you're talking when we're exploring about the digital sexual education. And the next thing is the information is free. So it's obviously, it's always, you don't have to pay for information, and you have lots of information on digital sexuality uh, on internet. So this is like really free thing. And let's moving into bad stuff. So bad stuff, it's not like bad. So when we come to the bad things, we have to start thinking critically about the bad things. And I know the sexuality education is a controversial topic, but I don't think it's same as before. But now the people want to talk about the sexuality and sex education, and even Me personally, we did recently, and it started in ECOS, and we conducting programs for university students, and they coming and telling these are very normal topics, these are very normal things, but why we didn't get this knowledge and education when we were in school? Why we had to wait for a long time? So I think that is because of the government influences and maybe the religion structures in different countries, because they influence and they involve with these kind of topics, and they think that these topics shouldn't be talked, or these topics are too early to talk. I think talking about sex is not early for anyone, because then only you gain your knowledge. And the other bad stuff is the violence. So recently we came across in Sri Lanka, there was an app for LGBTQ people that were Grinder, and there was, because of the country situation, and there were some people who talking with people, and they asking them to come, and they smuggle them, and they get their money, and they do like kind of these things. So these things also can happen when we are into the digital platforms. And the other thing is, we don't know that all the informations on digital platforms are accurate and correct. So we always, because it's free, and the thing is, we don't have someone to evaluate the sex educators or these things, because we have doctors, and we have teachers, and we have other professional things to make ourselves evaluate. But the thing is, but we don't have this thing that, okay, they are qualified sex educators, so they are qualified sex education institutions. So because of that, but we have the opportunity to learn about everything. And but end of the day, we have to make sure whatever we are learning is accurate and correct. And these are some like basic bad things which can happen when we are using the internet, sorry, the digital uh, platforms. And so the why the digital sexuality education is important for us, it's because always it's important for us for our life. Not even though we educate ourselves on certain things, these things we couldn't get, as I said at the beginning, we couldn't get these things when we were in school. I don't know, and we don't know when it will be implemented in schools. And I think the only way to strengthen our knowledge in sexuality education is through the digital platforms. And you have to make sure that you use it safe, and you collect your correct information, and you gain your knowledge, and you are going to educate someone else on the same topic. I think that's all I have to say. So we can. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Ram. That's very Again, thank you very much, Ram. It is very informative and interesting. So, looking at our agenda, I'm going to go for our second speaker. We always talk about and worry about safety and privacy. What is mean by safety and privacy? Why do we need privacy? You always think about that, right? A good understanding of the importance of privacy and why it needs protect is key to your own. Privacy is recognized as an individual human rights, and information on privacy is crucial to the body rights to privacy. It refers to individual ability to determine for themselves when, how, and for what purpose their personal information is handled by others. I would like to invite our expert speaker, Head of the Digital Abyss Subdivision, SafeNet Indonesia, Ms. Ellen Kuzuma, to discuss more about privacy and protection in digital platforms. Ms. Ellen, over to you.
Thank you.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Could you hear me clearly?
Yes, Alan, we can hear you.
Okay. Thank you so much, Yasuda. I'm going to present my material. We'll try to speak slowly because I know there is sign language instructor here and also the typist. Okay. So that's, yeah. So can you guys see my monitor?
Yes, we can.
Okay. So before we are going to talk about data and privacy and so on, I am going to present to you a concept that I coined as digital body. Of course, this is not an authentic concept. I think all over the world, people already talking about digital body as in data verification. So let me also introduce the organization where I belong to. I am with SafeNet, or Southeast Asia Freedom of Expression Network. We are a nonprofit organization and a network of digital rights defenders in Southeast Asia, established on 27 June 2013 in Bali, Indonesia. We advocate digital rights as human rights through digital rights violation monitoring, policy and victims advocacy, and solidarity with victims and other human rights defenders. So we are also initiating a program called Awas KBGO, or Beware of Online Gender-Based Violence, which is an initiative focusing on policy advocacy, support for victims, and education on online gender-based violence, where we publish some research, some educative information or practical tips. We also have a helpline for victims. We also have online library and class where people can learn and upgrade their knowledge on digital security, with emphasis also on online gender-based violence. And we also do other things such as having multi-stakeholders and cross-sectoral networks through collaboration, FGDs, and so on. So just for your information. So when we are talking about digital body, let me pose you a statement. Like when we are talking about body, a person's body, it has biological functions. It has been socially constructed and defined. It has name, it has characteristic, it has preferences, it could also express things, right? So we always identify our body with so many things. But woman's body, or other people who have been seconded as a person in the society, is more vulnerable, surveilled, controlled, violated, and so on. So there is this type of situation, right? And when the body is represented digitally through, say, selfie, video, data, and every digital devices and accounts that we produce or we register or we install or uploads or clicks, every agree we clicks without reading the terms and condition, it will affect our body. Because what? Because we actually surrender a part of our body in the digital world, that digital body, in which it also means some people, or maybe an institution or a company or a state, could access or have an access to a little bit more easily. So our body is accessible for somebody else. And it is different than when we are talking about physical body, which we can like we can have more control on it, right? We can have more control on who is able to access, quote unquote, our body. But when we are talking about digital body, it has a very different characteristics because we have so little control on who is going to be able to access our digital body. So it means our body in the digital world is more susceptible to more harm and risk. And the online harm and risk don't stay online. As connected as our life now with digital technology, especially through internet and social media, every harm and risk could spill over to our real life. So we need to understand every digital footprint, or I say every digital body, have an everlasting quality, because we know that when it is up in the digital space, it could be easily spread around through copying and pasting some files. Control C, Control V, it's easy to do, right? So we could also duplicate it by having a screenshot of it. We could duplicate it by screen recording it. So digital footprint is very easy to spread because of these features of the digital technology, right? Because the objective of digital technology, especially the communication or related to communication, digital technology, is to be able to spread information. But it's not only information. Right now, it also contains our digital body. So we also need to understand whether the footprint or the digital body is produced by our consent or not. It could stay up there. It could stay in the digital space for a long time, especially when people keep duplicating it. So when we are talking about digital body, we also need to talk about consent too, because we think even though you don't really use digital technology, you cannot really avoid the situation, right? Maybe when you are taking a selfie, you have consented to make or to produce that selfie. But when you are walking around in the public space, where some people has installed CCTV and they don't even announce that they have a CCTV on the area, that could mean when you walk in that space, they could produce your digital body without even your consent, without even your knowing about it. So we also need to understand this situation. So what does it entail? That something that happened to a person without that person's consent might or might not bring a harm, right? So when somebody put on CCTV, they are trying to protect their own shops, maybe if we make a study case on it, right? They are not trying to harm us by recording us, right? But there could be a person who have bad intention, and they will use that recording of that CCTV recording to do some harm to us. So we need to understand the situation first before we are able to say strategize on what type of intervention that we could be doing to minimize the situation or to mitigate the impact, right? So there is also that situation that we need to understand first. Next, now when we are talking about digital body, at least we need to understand about 4 things. First is data. When we are talking about digital body, we are talking about data. What kind of data? Data that has our personally identifiable information, data that could have sensitive information on us. And we also need to understand that we are talking about dynamic. What kind of dynamic we meant here? It meant that when we are talking about our personal data or personally identifiable information, right now it might not seem to be to have or to pose a risk to us. But maybe in the future, that kind of data could actually get us into trouble. I'm going to have example of some people wearing hijab. So maybe when you are young, you don't wear any hijab. So you wear some clothes that is more revealing. Then 5 years later, when you wear a hijab, you will try to have a modest clothing to wear, right? But you have already posted your yeah your 5 years ago selfies where you are not wearing hijab, you wear revealing clothes. So we also need to understand that if the data now is not posing a risk to us, it could pose a risk to us in the future. So there is this type of dynamic. So we need to understand that the risk could be changing along the time. So there is also, and then we also need to understand we need to encrypt our data, whether we kept it in our mobile phone or when we are storing it in our cloud storage maybe, or any external hard disk or our laptops and so on. We need to understand the importance of encrypting the data, especially if it is a personally identifiable information, some information that could be linked to our identity, and especially something that is sensitive. Some people might say that information on sexual orientation is a sensitive information. Some other people might say that health information is a sensitive information, such as the people with HIV, AIDS, or any other type of sensitive information, right? Because it is sensitive because it could poses some higher risk if the public know about it. Maybe it could poses some discrimination or some physical violence to be incited because more people, because the public knows about the sensitive information, right? So we need to understand that we have personally identifiable information, and we need to also conclude which of this personally identifiable information that is sensitive to us and what kind of dynamic it could bring to us and how we could better save it with encryption. And then next, we need to also understand about consent. So when we are talking about consent, we are also talking about price principle, which is freely given, reversible, informed consent, enthusiastic, and specific. So consent is not about us always saying yes. Consent is about we know the consequences of saying yes. We know the consequences of saying no. We understand that this action is only for a specific for a specific time. So we understand the limitation of that consent itself. And then about consent in the digital space, we also need to understand about privacy policy. So consent, we need to understand this price principle. I repeat it one more time. It's freely given, reversible, informed, enthusiastic, and specific. And then there is privacy policy also. Next, we also need to understand about footprint. We need to understand that the characteristic of our digital footprint is everything is connected to each other. So our information on, say, national identity is linked to many other information. Maybe it also linked to your SIM card registration. Maybe it also linked to your banking number and so on. So we need to understand that our data, our footprint is connected to each other. And not only connected to our own data, our data could very well be connected or linked to other person's data. So maybe the young people here have heard about the application called get contact, or maybe through caller. So understand this. When other people is saving our name under their phone book and they install get contact or true caller, then other people, the one who doesn't have our name, could check if our number is saved under whose name, right? So please understand, it's not about, when we are talking about footprint, it is very connected to other person's data. So when we are not behaving safely, we could pose another risk for, we could pose a risk to another person's. And then I have an example on this. So yesterday, truly yesterday, because we have done some services to victims of sexual violence. Some of our friends actually saved the number of the victim under some name that is victim of online database. Say it like that. So when some person try to look at that person's phone number in Get Contact, they can see that this person is a victim of online gender-based violence. So when we are not saving another person's carefully, another person's number or data carefully, we could pose some risk to that situation. And then we also need to understand the characteristic of digital footprint, that it is everlasting. We need to have more control on it, on how people could replicate or duplicate our data. And we also need to understand about the rights to be forgotten, which is on the, I think the biggest regulation on privacy right now is still the GDPR by the EU, the General Data Regulation, GDPR, the General Data Protection Regulation, right? So we also need to understand what entails the right to be forgotten itself. And then the last one, when we are talking about digital body, we cannot only think about one format. We should think about many other formats that it could be, such as it could be an image, it could be a text, it could be a multimedia format, it could be a metadata. So we need to understand about these four categorization or maybe indicators of digital body. And then next, when we are talking about digital security in product 3, we need to understand there is some indicators, right? So we need to understand when we are talking about technology itself, it could be in the form of hardware, the gadget or the devices that we use, and then there is also software, the applications that we install, that we have on our gadget or devices, right? And there is also us, the brainware, which entails ourselves, people around us, and the psychosocial situation. And then we also need to understand about threats. What is the threat that could pose a harm or a risk to us? It could be a doxing. Doxing is a spreading of someone's personally identifiable information to the public space, of course, without consent of that person. And it's actually the goal of spreading this information is actually to cause a harm to that people, to the person, right? And then there's also deep fakes, artificial intelligence to manipulate some multimedia format or multimedia data, right? And there is also a type of surveillance. And there is other attacks such as cyber torture or online database violence or social engineering and so on. You also said something about phishing on the Jamboard, right? That is also part of threats that we might receive. And then what we can do is prevent it, because there is really a limited way to mitigate a threat when it already happened. What is better if we can prevent it first? How to do it? Audit our data. What is what type of digital body that has been spread around? We can do some kind of like Googling your full name into the search bar and so on, and to try to find out what kind of information that has been public about you that could pose a risk to you. And then we can adjust our digital security through adjusting your privacy setting, adjusting your security setting, and so on. And you could also add some more applications that could make you safer, such as antivirus applications, or you could add when you have a camera on your phone, you could also have this lens cover, so you will be safer. So the camera cannot really watch you when you don't use it, and then you could apply everything accordingly, because what is your risk will not be the same with other people's risk, because we have a different context, right? So you could also do that. And if something happened to us, what could be done? Save evidence. You could do risk mapping. Who is the person that is trying to harm us? What can we do with that? What services that is being provided around us, and so on. Make a priority list of needs and security. Documenting it chronologically could also help us, because one of the characteristics of online violence is that it could be repetitive, not right away. It could also repeat it in the future. And then report directly to the digital platform, of course, and consider reporting to the police. Please understand what kind of law you have in your country, and then get other helps that you might need. And then how to behave safely. This is only a repetition of what I have already said. We need to understand about privacy, the personal data, the personally identifiable information, balancing level of comfortable and safe. We need to understand about consent, the FRIES principle, which is freely given, responsible, informed, enthusiastic, specific principles. And we need to understand how digital ecosystem works, right? How data flows and how it is being used. What is digital public sphere? What is the role of digital platform? How we need to also engage internet service providers, how we need to engage the government, how algorithm works, etc. And then we also need not only understand about digital ecosystem, we also need to understand the characteristic, right? Like everything is connected to many things, easily multiplied, difficult to observe, and leads to perpetual footprint, etc. So we need to understand this first. And then do the very basic regularly, such as check your previous digital footprint and delete if it is not relevant anymore. Adjust the security and privacy setting of every digital account that you have, not only the one that you often use, but the one that you have already installed in the past and now you are not using it anymore. And then activate the two-factor authentication, change the password, strong and unique for every account. This is some tools that you could use to secure your account. Like you can check your password strength, you can scan. If you receive some URL that is very suspicious, please scan it first through these two links, or you could do some digital hygiene by doing the step that is provided in this link, or you could check for data breaches if your email has been data breached so many times and so on. You could also learn to activate two-factor authentication on your accounts, digital accounts. You could, this one is in Bahasa Indonesia, but you could use this one if you want to know the steps in English language. And you could also, if you have Google account, you need to manage your account better. You could use these links to do it. And then if you want to know more about online gender-based violence, you could also come to our library. We have some resources in English, also in Indonesia, or you could also, if you are Indonesian, if you understand Indonesian, you could also go to our online class to understand more about online gender-based violence and what you can do on it. So another things that I would like to pose is you have to understand the principles of being safe. Don't think ourselves as a nobody in the internet, so I am safer. Actually, in the world of data, in the world of that we have digital body, we are not safe. Yeah. And then we always have a choice to use or not use the digital technology. But the big question is that we need to also understand how it is going to affect our access to information and opportunity. That's why it is very important for us to also hold the digital platform accountable for everything that they cannot manage, or how the digital platform cannot really create a digital safe space for us. We need to hold them accountable for it. And then also understand, always be mindful of our consent in regards of our digital data, but also we need to respect others' consent regarding the digital body, such as not saving their name under some revealing title, so people can like try to find that person on Get Contact or Truecaller type of applications and so on. And there is always a safer alternative, one after another. It's not everlasting. We should understand that digital technology is ever changing, so we need to also keep up with the situation. And so the committee actually asked 3 points to be replied by me. So first, about how to develop a guidance for privacy, data protection, and safety, we need to identify the risks by using, we can use a simple method of the 5 W's and the 1 H: who, what, when, where, why, and how. We could identify risks by doing this. And we can also learn the 5 principle of consent, the price principle. We could also provide options for anonymity and sharing of data by practicing minimalism. You don't have to collect data that you are not going to use anyway, right? So provide that type of anonymity or that type of minimalism when we are trying to collect somebody else's data. And then to provide setting rules and disclaimer against hate speech or harassment, what can we do? Plus, we need to educate on what hate speech is, what is harassment. We need to have that type of definition to be educated to our audience, so they also know what is the boundaries, right? And then we could also use a human rights-based framework and approach to set the rules, because we don't want to implement something that is actually infringing on others' human rights, right? So that is also that. And then the last one, to provide monitoring and handling non-compliant users. What can we do? First, map our capacity and the services that we can offer safely and securely. We also need to understand, whenever we collect somebody else's data, we also need to provide secure data management also. And then to implement the monitoring and handling the rules that we have without exception. So it is to prevent repetition, and we need to do it transparently so people will understand what leads to this type of decision, right? So there is also that. And the last thing that I want to emphasize is that we need to also check about the accessibility of our resources and so on, so many more people could be included and understand about their own digital body, how to be safe, and so on. So that is the last part of my presentation. If you have questions, clarifications that I'm unable to answer on this session, you could contact us on this email, or you could also use you could also contact our hotline numbers. So that's it. I'm going to give the floor back to our moderators. Thank you.
So, protecting privacy is key to ensuring human dignity, safety, and self-determination. It allows individuals freely develop their own personality as well. Ms. Kusuma, thank you very much for inspiration discussion, and I'm very Sorry to inform that we don't have much time for the Q&A session. So if you have any question, speakers will have to answer your question in the chat box instance, or either you can email the speakers as well. So now we are going for the second part of our webinar. It's a breakout session. This is a brief introduction. You may divide the 3 breakout rooms and you will meet your facilitator. You have already 3 facilitators. I think they are already ready to have you on board. So we appreciate your active participation, and this is very important throughout the breakout room session, and hope you have interactive and informative discussions. Right now, you can join and discuss in breakout room. There is 3 rooms. Click one and join with one row. We have very limited time. I hope you may all concern about that as well while we are joining breakout room discussion. And also it is very informative, and we have a lot of activities and we have a lot of topics to discuss. Facilitators, are you ready?
Yep, we are all ready.
Yeah. Okay. So see you guys on breakout sessions. Hope you all enjoy.
Reproductive health and digital platforms. Digital platforms can give adolescents private answers to critical questions about sexuality, as Torika, who has a developmental disability, discovered.
Bula, I'm Torika, I'm 14 and I come from Fiji. I enjoy going to school with my friends. I sometimes cannot understand every lesson if the teacher talks too fast or uses words I don't know. My friends are always there to help me. For a few months now, I saw that my body has been changing. It was happening to my friends too. So I knew this happens to all girls. One day at school, I was feeling strange, and when I went to the bathroom, I saw that I was bleeding. I was very scared. Was I very sick? Was I going to die? At home, I went to my room and I didn't ask my parents, in case they were sad. I didn't know who I could ask. I didn't even want to ask my friends. So I used my mom's computer and talked to my friends from the disabled persons group online. They showed me a website that had many good questions and answers about teenage problems. I understood that this bleeding happens to all girls, and the pictures on the website explained that this was normal. The next day at school, I talked to my friends and they also explained that this was happening to them. I could also tell my mother I had my period, and she helped explain more. Now I know if I have questions, I know where to find the answers.
Like many other adolescents, Tarika found quality, appropriate advice online. While some digital platforms expose adolescents to misinformation, if used correctly and safely, digital platforms can help adolescents to better understand and address their sexual and reproductive health concerns. Comprehensive sexuality education teaches adolescents to safely navigate through the digital space.
Hai guys, aku Sally. Kali ini aku ingin menggambarkan tentang cyberbullying yang dialami kedua sahabatku, Lara dan Gary. Lara adalah teman aku yang hobi traveling pada saat libur sekolah. Sejak hobi traveling itu, Lara menjadi vlogger traveler. Lara mulai sering mengupload pengalaman perjalanannya. Suatu hari, Lara mendapatkan spam bullying dari foto yang diunggahnya di kanal jejaring sosial. Dan tiba-tiba semua netizen bersabda mengomentari warna kulit hingga bentuk badan Lara. Di sekolah, Lara selalu terlihat murung. Lara sedih dengan perundungan yang dialaminya. Selain Lara, ada juga Gary. Gary adalah teman sekolahku yang baru pindah dari Ambon. Gary juga mengalami bullying atau perundungan dari kanal jaring sosial atau sekarang lebih sering disebut cyberbullying. Gary sangat suka bermain musik, dari gitar hingga permainan musik tradisional seperti jakulele khas Ambon, tanah kelahiran Gary. Tapi siapa sangka kalian Gary bermain musik tidak terlihat oleh teman-teman. Gary justru mendapatkan perundungan bahkan dari teman-teman di sekolah. Teman-teman sekolah sampai membuat fake account untuk mengolok-ngolok Gary. Apa yang dilakukan teman-teman melalui kanal jaring sosial dengan melontarkan kata-kata yang kurang pantas mampu menimbulkan efek jangka panjang. Gary dan Lara sempat mengalami trauma seperti tidak percaya diri dan tidak mau bertemu dengan teman-teman di sekolah. Dari apa yang dialami teman-temanku, pasti juga banyak teman-teman di luar sana yang mengalami hal serupa. Angka kasus cyberbullying di Indonesia terus meningkat. Sebuah polling yang dilakukan oleh You Report Indonesia Voice Matter terhadap 2.777 remaja Indonesia usia 14-24 tahun mengungkap bahwa 45% melaporkan mereka pernah mengalami bullying. Anak laki-laki sedikit lebih tinggi yang menjadi korban dibanding anak perempuan, 54% dibanding 46%. Hasil riset ini juga dipaparkan dalam jurnal UNICEF dengan judul Bullying in Indonesia. Apa saja sih yang bisa kita lakukan agar tidak ada Gary dan Lara lain? 1. Tidak turut serta menyebarluaskan konten perundungan atau bullying terkait korban. 2. Berikan apresiasi positif baik secara langsung maupun tidak langsung kepada korban. Dan ketiga, support teman-teman kita yang menjadi korban seperti mendengarkan keluh kesah mereka agar mereka tidak melakukan tindakan yang dapat merugikan diri mereka sendiri. Cyberbullying adalah tindakan yang melanggar kode etik dan terdapat di Undang-Undang ITE. Semoga kita semakin peduli bukan hanya kepada korban ya, tetapi pada diri kita sendiri agar selalu lebih berhati-hati untuk menilai seseorang.
Sexual and reproductive health and digital platforms. Digital platforms can give adolescents private answers to critical questions about sexuality, as Tarika, who has a developmental disability, discovered.
Bula, I'm Tarika, I'm 14 and I come from Fiji. I enjoy going to school with my friends. I sometimes cannot understand every lesson if the teacher talks too fast or uses words I don't know. My friends are always there to help me. For a few months now, I saw that my body has been changing. It was happening to my friends too. So I knew this happens to all girls. One day at school, I was feeling strange, and when I went to the bathroom, I saw that I was bleeding. I was very scared. Was I very sick? Was I going to die? At home, I went to my room and I didn't ask my parents, in case they were sad. I didn't know who I could ask. I didn't even want to ask my friends. So I used my mom's computer and talked to my friends from the disabled persons group online. They showed me a website that had many good questions and answers about teenage problems. I understood that this bleeding happens to all girls, and the pictures on the website explained that this was normal. The next day at school, I talked to my friends and they also explained that this was happening to them. I could also tell my mother I had my period, and she helped explain more. Now I know if I have questions, I know where to find the answers.
Like many other adolescents, Tarika found quality appropriate advice online. While some digital platforms expose adolescents to misinformation, if used correctly and safely, digital platforms can help adolescents to better understand and address their sexual and reproductive health concerns. Comprehensive sexuality education teaches adolescents to safely navigate through the digital space.
Hai guys, aku Sally. Kali ini aku ingin menggambarkan tentang cyberbullying yang dialami kedua sahabatku, Lara dan Gary. Lara adalah teman aku yang hobi traveling pada saat libur sekolah. Sejak hobi traveling itu, Lara menjadi vlogger traveler. Lara mulai sering mengupload pengalaman perjalanannya. Suatu hari, Lara mendapatkan spam bullying dari foto yang diunggahnya di kanal jejaring sosial. Dan tiba-tiba semua netizen bersabda mengomentari warna kulit hingga bentuk badan Lara. Di sekolah, Lara selalu terlihat murung. Lara sedih dengan perundungan yang dialaminya. Selain Lara, ada juga Gary. Gary adalah teman sekolahku yang baru pindah dari Ambon. Gary juga mengalami bullying atau perundungan dari kanal jaring sosial atau sekarang lebih sering disebut cyberbullying. Gary sangat suka bermain musik, dari gitar hingga permainan musik tradisional seperti jakulele khas Ambon, tanah kelahiran Gary. Tapi siapa sangka kalian Gary bermain musik tidak terlihat oleh teman-teman. Gary justru mendapatkan perundungan bahkan dari teman-teman di sekolah. Teman-teman sekolah sampai membuat fake account untuk mengolok-ngolok Gary. Apa yang dilakukan teman-teman melalui kanal jaring sosial dengan melontarkan kata-kata yang kurang pantas mampu menimbulkan efek jangka panjang. Gary dan Lara sempat mengalami trauma seperti tidak percaya diri dan tidak mau bertemu dengan teman-teman di sekolah. Dari apa yang dialami teman-temanku, pasti juga banyak teman-teman di luar sana yang mengalami hal serupa. Angka kasus cyberbullying di Indonesia terus meningkat. Sebuah polling yang dilakukan oleh You Report Indonesia Voice Matter terhadap 2.777 remaja Indonesia usia 14-24 tahun mengungkap bahwa 45% melaporkan mereka pernah mengalami bullying. Anak laki-laki sedikit lebih tinggi yang menjadi korban dibanding anak perempuan, 54% dibanding 46%. Hasil riset ini juga dipaparkan dalam jurnal UNICEF dengan judul Bullying in Indonesia. Apa saja sih yang bisa kita lakukan agar tidak ada Gary dan Lara lain? 1. Tidak turut serta menyebarluaskan konten perundungan atau bullying terkait korban. 2. Berikan apresiasi positif baik secara langsung maupun tidak langsung kepada korban. Dan ketiga, support teman-teman kita yang menjadi korban seperti mendengarkan keluh kesah mereka agar mereka tidak melakukan tindakan yang dapat merugikan diri mereka sendiri. Cyberbullying adalah tindakan yang melanggar kode etik dan terdapat di Undang-Undang ITE. Semoga kita semakin peduli bukan hanya kepada korban ya, tetapi pada diri kita sendiri agar selalu lebih berhati-hati untuk menilai seseorang.
sexual and reproductive health, and digital platforms. Digital platforms can give adolescents private answers to critical questions about sexuality, as Torika, who has a developmental disability, discovered.
Bula, I'm Tarika, I'm 14 and I come from Fiji. I enjoy going to school with my friends. I sometimes cannot understand every lesson if the teacher talks too fast or uses words I don't know. My friends are always there to help me. For a few months now, I saw that my body has been changing. It was happening to my friends too. So I knew this happens to all girls. One day at school, I was feeling strange, and when I went to the bathroom, I saw that I was bleeding. I was very scared. Was I very sick? Was I going to die? At home, I went to my room and I didn't ask my parents, in case they were sad. I didn't know who I could ask. I didn't even want to ask my friends. So I used my mom's computer and talked to my friends from the disabled persons group online. They showed me a website that had many good questions and answers about teenage problems. I understood that this bleeding happens to all girls, and the pictures on the website explained that this was normal. The next day at school, I talked to my friends and they also explained that this was happening to them. I could also tell my mother I had my period, and she helped explain more. Now I know if I have questions, I know where to find the answers.
Like many other adolescents, Tarika found quality appropriate advice online. While some digital platforms expose adolescents to misinformation, if used correctly and safely, digital platforms can help adolescents to better understand and address their sexual and reproductive health concerns. Comprehensive sexuality education teaches adolescents to safely navigate through the digital space.
Hai guys, aku Sally. Kali ini aku ingin menggambarkan tentang cyberbullying yang dialami kedua sahabatku, Lara dan Gary. Lara adalah teman aku yang hobi traveling pada saat libur sekolah. Sejak hobi traveling itu, Lara menjadi vlogger traveler. Lara mulai sering mengupload pengalaman perjalanannya. Suatu hari, Lara mendapatkan spam bullying dari foto yang diunggahnya di kanal jejaring sosial. Dan tiba-tiba semua netizen bersabda mengomentari warna kulit hingga bentuk badan Lara. Di sekolah, Lara selalu terlihat murung. Lara sedih dengan perundungan yang dialaminya. Selain Lara, ada juga Gary. Gary adalah teman sekolahku yang baru pindah dari Ambon. Gary juga mengalami bullying atau perundungan dari kanal jaring sosial atau sekarang lebih sering disebut cyberbullying. Gary sangat suka bermain musik. Dari gitar hingga permainan musik tradisional seperti jakulele khas Ambon, tanah kelahiran Gary. Tapi siapa sangka kalian Gary bermain musik tidak terlihat oleh teman-teman. Gary justru mendapatkan perundungan bahkan dari teman-teman di sekolah. Teman-teman sekolah sampai membuat fake account untuk mengolok-ngolok Gary. Apa yang dilakukan teman-teman melalui kanal jaring sosial dengan melontarkan kata-kata yang kurang pantas mampu menimbulkan efek jangka panjang. Gary dan Lara sempat mengalami trauma seperti tidak percaya diri dan tidak mau bertemu dengan teman-teman di sekolah. Dari apa yang dialami teman-temanku, pasti juga banyak teman-teman di luar sana yang mengalami hal serupa. Angka kasus cyberbullying di Indonesia terus meningkat. Sebuah polling yang dilakukan oleh You Report Indonesia Voice Matter terhadap 2.777 remaja Indonesia usia 14-24 tahun mengungkap bahwa 45% melaporkan mereka pernah mengalami bullying. Anak laki-laki sedikit lebih tinggi yang menjadi korban dibanding anak perempuan, 54% dibanding 46%. Hasil riset ini juga dipaparkan dalam jurnal UNICEF dengan judul Bullying in Indonesia. Apa saja sih yang bisa kita lakukan agar tidak ada Gary dan Lara lain? 1. Tidak turut serta menyebarluaskan konten perundungan atau bullying terkait korban. 2. Berikan apresiasi positif baik secara langsung maupun tidak langsung kepada korban. Dan ketiga, support teman-teman kita yang menjadi korban seperti mendengarkan keluh kesah mereka agar mereka tidak melakukan tindakan yang dapat merugikan diri mereka sendiri. Cyberbullying adalah tindakan yang melanggar kode etik dan terdapat di Undang-Undang ITE. Semoga kita semakin peduli bukan hanya kepada korban ya, tetapi pada diri kita sendiri agar selalu lebih berhati-hati untuk menilai seseorang.
Sexual and reproductive health and digital platforms. Digital platforms can give adolescents private answers to critical questions about sexuality, as Tarika, who has a developmental disability, discovered.
Bula, I'm Tarika, I'm 14 and I come from Fiji. I enjoy going to school with my friends. I sometimes cannot understand every lesson if the teacher talks too fast or uses words I don't know. My friends are always there to help me. For a few months now, I saw that my body has been changing. It was happening to my friends too. So I knew this happens to all girls. One day at school, I was feeling strange, and when I went to the bathroom, I saw that I was bleeding. I was very scared. Was I very sick? Was I going to die? At home, I went to my room and I didn't ask my parents, in case they were sad. I didn't know who I could ask. I didn't even want to ask my friends. So I used my mom's computer and talked to my friends from the disabled persons group online. They showed me a website that had many good questions and answers about teenage problems. I understood that this bleeding happens to all girls, and the pictures on the website explained that this was normal. The next day at school, I talked to my friends and they also explained that this was happening to them. I could also tell my mother I had my period and she helped explain more. Now I know if I have questions, I know where to find the answers.
Like many other adolescents, Tarika found quality appropriate advice online. While some digital platforms expose adolescents to misinformation, if used correctly and safely, digital platforms can help adolescents to better understand and address their sexual and reproductive health concerns. Comprehensive sexuality education teaches adolescents to safely navigate through the digital space.
Hai guys, aku Sally. Kali ini aku ingin menggambarkan tentang cyberbullying yang dialami kedua sahabatku, Lara dan Gary. Lara adalah teman aku yang hobi traveling pada saat libur sekolah. Sejak hobi traveling itu, Lara menjadi vlogger traveler. Lara mulai sering mengupload pengalaman perjalanannya. Suatu hari, Lara mendapatkan spam bullying dari foto yang diunggahnya di kanal jejaring sosial. Dan tiba-tiba semua netizen bersabda mengomentari warna kulit hingga bentuk badan Lara. Di sekolah, Lara selalu terlihat murung. Lara sedih dengan perundungan yang dialaminya. Selain Lara, ada juga Gary. Gary adalah teman sekolahku yang baru pindah dari Ambon. Gary juga mengalami bullying atau perundungan dari kanal jaring sosial atau sekarang lebih sering disebut cyberbullying. Gary sangat suka bermain musik, dari gitar hingga permainan musik tradisional seperti jakulele khas Ambon, tanah kelahiran Gary. Tapi siapa sangka keahlian Gary bermain musik tidak terlihat oleh teman-teman. Gary justru mendapatkan perundungan bahkan dari teman-teman di sekolah. Teman-teman sekolah sampai membuat fake account untuk mengolok-ngolok Gary. Apa yang dilakukan teman-teman melalui kanal jaring sosial dengan melontarkan kata-kata yang kurang pantas mampu menimbulkan efek jangka panjang. Gary dan Lara sempat mengalami trauma, seperti tidak percaya diri dan tidak mau bertemu dengan teman-teman di sekolah. Dari apa yang dialami teman-temanku, pasti juga banyak teman-teman di luar sana yang mengalami hal serupa. Angka kasus cyberbullying di Indonesia terus meningkat. Sebuah polling yang dilakukan oleh You Report Indonesia Voice Matter terhadap 2.777 remaja Indonesia usia 14-24 tahun mengungkap bahwa 45% melaporkan mereka pernah mengalami bullying. Anak laki-laki sedikit lebih tinggi yang menjadi korban dibanding anak perempuan, 54% dibanding 46%. Hasil riset ini juga dipaparkan dalam jurnal UNICEF dengan judul Bullying in Indonesia. Apa saja sih yang bisa kita lakukan agar tidak ada Gary dan Lara lain? 1. Tidak turut serta menyebarluaskan konten perundungan atau bullying terkait korban. 2. Berikan apresiasi positif baik secara langsung maupun tidak langsung kepada korban. Dan ketiga, support teman-teman kita yang menjadi korban seperti mendengarkan keluh kesah mereka agar mereka tidak melakukan tindakan yang dapat merugikan diri mereka sendiri. Cyberbullying adalah tindakan yang melanggar kode etik dan terdapat di Undang-Undang ITE. Semoga kita semakin peduli bukan hanya kepada korban ya, tetapi pada diri kita sendiri agar selalu lebih berhati-hati untuk menilai seseorang.
Okay, again back to main session. Hope you all enjoy your breakout room session. So right now, we are going to discuss with our dedicated speakers, which is why they are each breakout room. So I will give a chance to the first group, means the main session, main room. The first speaker, please.
Yeah.
Over.
Thank you, Sandini, and I will invite Sam as one of our representative to tell to us. Yeah, please, time is yours, Sam.
So this is the question from the group 1. We discuss about any bad experiences of weak safeguarding of users in digital space. So most of one of us doesn't aware or not consensual enough, or sometimes already aware but forgot, or not so detailed to remember what's gonna happen on this wild internet world. So like somebody using our personal profile picture and share it on Instagram, and then someone using my picture in social media and using to prostitute and unconsensual image, and then send erotic message to private DMs on Instagram, and then unattended debate in the social comments, leading to cyberbullying of some user taking screenshot of the argument comments and disseminating them in the publicly. So I think what I get it from these experiences, sometimes we cannot control what's gonna happen on internet. I mean, when someone's have intention to do bad things, so that's what's going to happen. I mean about using our profile picture, using our image, that we know, that we understand we cannot control it, from like taking screenshots. So how we are coping from this experiences, the first one, just ignore them. Yes, because we already know we cannot control it anyway, and then report it to the Facebook or private or social media, or more like protect myself too much, like I cover my laptop camera or my handphone camera, or sometimes we are not really feeling safe on the internet anyway. So maybe from this webinar, we also know what's gonna happen with our body on internet, gitu. And sometimes we cannot control it. What's gonna happen on internet? So gonna happen in the future that we will recheck again what's going on day by day or time by time our body on internet, and then make sure not shit happens not happen anymore, and then more protecting about our privacy. And then from what Ellen said, we can recheck again, or we can check our passport, or we can check what's going on our Google account. So I think that's it from the first. Yes, Tantri, thank you so much.
Thank you, Sam. Back to you, Sandini.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you for sharing your ideas. So I should note that each speaker from room only have 5 minutes to presentation. Keep in your mind because we are running out of our time. So and I would like to invite second group.
Okay, thank you very much. So the second group, there will be Clara Stitch that will represent us to presenting the summarize and her thought. Thank you, Lara.
Thank you. So we talked about good practices of safeguarding users in digital spaces. Some of the ideas that we came up with were fact-checking and truth-telling, and trying to overall just be conscious of our presence online and what information we make available. So that includes any online spaces, whether that is social media, and then also talking about the devices, hardware, and software that we use, trying to make sure that that is secure and trying to use original software. And then also to make sure that our online presence is secure, we mentioned activating two-side authentication and trying to use strong passwords, and remembering to use our passwords to sign in and sign out of platforms when we use those in digital spaces. So because all of those things aren't available and known by everyone, we then talked about how we can share those things to other people. Overall, we talked about the importance of building more communities of digital advocates, and trying to make sure that there are groups and there are spaces where these topics can be discussed. One thing that we talked about were conferences, and then similarly more webinars on public awareness, as well as some kind of body or agency to monitor social media and digital security. Yeah, and the importance of having digital advocates then sharing about those body or agencies and any information that we do know. So I think hopefully that was okay. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Now I'm moving to the third group.
Yeah, sorry, I was in the mute. Sandini, I'm going to be leading the conversation for the room 3. So should I share the screen or?
Yeah, you can share the screen.
Okay, got it. Thank you. So yeah, we got a lot of ideas from our participants, and I really appreciate that if people do not speak up, they actually write their ideas on the paper, and this is something that really promotes the solutions. So yeah, our idea behind our question was that how does your organization or your country or your government what should the government should do to safeguard issues for the users in digital spaces. So we have got a lot of ideas, but I'll talk about the very crucial ideas within the time limit. So the first idea was that we should have some technical assistance by the government or by the telecommunications or by the health providers. So we should have the very convenient and very genuine information aside from the fake news that is already available on different free platforms, and that is harmful. The other idea was that we should have a technical support, or we should have some national health programs suggested by the government or supported by the government that should focus on the youth, on the children, on the people who wants to get the sexuality health information, because this is some kind of taboo is still in Asian and Pacific countries. So there was another idea that I personally loved, which was that people should get support, or communities should get support from NGOs, because NGOs, social enterprises, or CSOs, which is civil or service organizations, they also work a lot with communities, with remote villages there where there is still internet, but there's no awareness that what should be the use of digital platforms. Other than this, we have got a lot of ideas from other participants, and which was about social influencers' power, that social influencers should have some kind of guidance towards the youth. So yeah, Sandini, that was all about our ideas. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much. So I think according to our schedule, we already comes to our end. So ladies and gentlemen, finally we come to the end part of our presentation. We would be like to say thank you again to our speakers for the informative and interesting talk to the audience for active participation. If you have any question, you can also still have time to clarify, and also you can mail as well. Again, I'm going to thank you, Mr. Ramdulip Rambodake, and also Ms. Ellen Kuzuma for your inspiration, and thank you for everyone attending today's webinar, Safeguarding User for Digital Sexuality Education. It is in your hands to make the world a better place. So now I'm going to hand over this session to Olivia again.
Hi, Asada. Thank you so much. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much. That was a great discussion, right? I was so wow during the session, actually. And yes, let's juggle to give you a little refreshment to get our Canva for subscription for the winners. We actually right now will have a quiz using Mentimeter, but don't worry, it's not like a final exam at uni or anything, so don't be stressed out. Just take a deep breath, relaxing a bit, be focused and be ready, okay? So we're gonna play a game. Please, operator, would you mind to help me to show the Mentimeter? Okay, thank you. Can everyone see the screen as well? Nice. Okay, thank you. Yes, so everyone, to join this quiz or game, you can go to the website menti.com and put the code that has been provided, the connected to the platforms, and you can join the games. Let us know if you have some trouble in accessing the website or accessing the game. Oh, someone is coming. Oh, so many joins. the operator pick the next one. Okay. Question number 1. Why is digital safety important? Okay, 3, 2, 1. Yes, the right question is all the above. Jump to question number 2. Oh, we have to see who is the winner. Oh, that is Johanna. Let's come to the question number 2. How does digital safety help us? Yay, the right question is the last one. It keeps private information safe. Let's see who is the winner in this second question. Oh wow, Johanna still in the top one. Okay, this is the last question. Be ready and be focused. How can we influence digital safety? Yes, the right question, the right answer is none of the above. Yay, I think we already found the winner of this session for this quiz. Hi, Johanna. Congratulations. So, for the session, as we said before, there will be 2 winners. The first winners are coming from the winner of the quiz, and the other winners are from the active participant. So, we already have 2 winners here. The first one is Johanna. Congratulations, Johanna. And the second one is Yelin Oh from Myanmar. So, congratulations. You both will get 1 year subscription to Canva Pro, one of the most popular content creation tools. So, congratulations. You will be contacted further by the committee via email. So, please provide your email to one of our hosts or committee here today. So, our committee can contact you directly. So again, this event is sponsored by UNFPA Asia Pacific, UNFPA Indonesia, Sequence Indonesia, and also supported by the Asia Pacific Digital Sexuality Education Community members. So thank you for the continued support and guidance. But before we close our activity, let us give the floor to our UNFPA Asia Pacific Regional Office representative to wrap up and share the next information update. Please, Mrs. Miyadana, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Olivia, and thank you so much to the amazing speakers and moderator, facilitators, and participants. And I really enjoy learning about the safeguarding. And while Ellen was presenting, I'm trying to make a checklist in my head, like to what extent do I also, follow all these safeguarding principle as a user to protect my digital body. And I really like how you use, the digital body and giving examples as well as the practical steps, how we can safeguard as user and as content creators. how we can actually think from the user perspective. What are the risks that I should face as a user, and using those thinking about what are my risks to change to the content creator perspective, like how can we actually protect our user using the safeguarding principles. So there are 6 key points that I have noted from the whole webinar. And first is from the amazing 2 speakers, as well as from the breakout rooms to provide guidance, which provided guidance for privacy, data protection, and safety. And also how we can actually set rules and disclaimer against hate speech or harassment, and how the need to have the monitoring and handling non-compliant user, and applying safeguarding digital rights and well-being principles to digital platforms, and to apply the safeguarding rule to protect the user, as well as to promote the inclusiveness to the digital sexuality education platform. So we do hope that beyond this webinar, we can now we have all these knowledges about how to promote the safeguarding, and beyond this webinar to actually apply these tips and principles when we create the digital platforms, when we create the contents. And another important point is that we can see the active participation of the creators from DSE community members from all around the Asia and Pacific. And we hope that this coordination and collaboration would continue beyond this webinar, and in creating the digital platform beyond this webinar to do more collaborative work to create the digital sexuality education content, as well as to strengthen the safeguarding of the users in the digital education platform. So the moderator and MC have already give thanks to everybody, and I would also like to highlight again, I particularly thank the speakers, the moderators, the facilitators, the typists, and the sign language interpreter, and the participants, and of course the eventee and siglus to make this webinar happen. And I myself personally also learned a lot through this webinar. And we also would like to extend our invitation to the webinar 3 in the upcoming month, and also to also note down the upcoming bootcamp for the DSE creators in December. So thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you, Ms. Sharon. Thank you very much for the pleasant speech. And finally, everyone, we thank all the parties who have supported this activity, and we deeply apologize for any mistakes or inconvenience that we have made during the session, as well as for the technical issue. Hopefully, this will not be the last time we are engaged together virtually. And please wait for our third or our next webinar, and also our 3-day bootcamp in November and December this year. We want to actually build and design qualities and also safe, empowering, and inclusive digital space for young people around Asia and Pacific, especially those who are focusing in sexual and reproductive health on this year and also next year. So thank you again, and have a great rest weekend, everyone, and see you. Bye-bye.
See you, everyone.
Reproductive health and digital platforms. Digital platforms can give adolescents private answers to critical questions about sexuality, as Torika, who has a developmental disability, discovered.
Bula, I'm Torika, I'm 14 and I come from Fiji. I enjoy going to school with my friends. I sometimes cannot understand every lesson if the teacher talks too fast or uses words I don't know. My friends are always there to help me. For a few months now, I saw that my body has been changing. It was happening to my friends too. So I knew this happens to all girls. One day at school, I was feeling strange, and when I went to the bathroom, I saw that I was bleeding. I was very scared. Was I very sick? Was I going to die? At home, I went to my room and I didn't ask my parents, in case they were sad. I didn't know who I could ask. I didn't even want to ask my friends. So I used my mom's computer and talked to my friends from the disabled persons group online. They showed me a website that had many good questions and answers about teenage problems. I understood that this bleeding happens to all girls, and the pictures on the website explained that this was normal. The next day at school, I talked to my friends and they also explained that this was happening to them. I could also tell my mother I had my period, and she helped explain more. Now I know if I have questions, I know where to find the answers.
Like many other adolescents, Tarika found quality appropriate advice online. While some digital platforms expose adolescents to misinformation, if used correctly and safely, digital platforms can help adolescents to better understand and address their sexual and reproductive health concerns. Comprehensive sexuality education teaches adolescents to safely navigate through the digital space.
Hai guys, aku Sally. Kali ini aku ingin menggambarkan tentang cyberbullying yang dialami kedua sahabatku, Lara dan Gary. Lara adalah teman aku yang hobi traveling pada saat libur sekolah. Sejak hobi traveling itu, Lara menjadi vlogger traveler. Lara mulai sering mengupload pengalaman